What if everything we've been taught about life, the things we're expected to do, the ways we're supposed to behave, wasn't really the key to living a fulfilling, authentic life? What if, in our efforts to be kind, to be considerate, to be liked, we were actually losing ourselves in the process? What if, at the end of it all, we looked back and realized that the person we became wasn't truly us at all? This isn't a question many of us like to entertain, because it forces us to confront a deep, uncomfortable truth. We've all spent so much of our lives trying to be what others want us to be, that we've forgotten how to be ourselves. We've become expert chameleons, adapting, changing, shifting to meet the needs, expectations, and desires of those around us. And in doing so, we've lost the one thing that makes life meaningful: authenticity. Think for a moment about how much of your life has been shaped by others' views of you. From childhood, we're told to be good, to be polite, to be nice. We're taught to suppress our desires, our quirks, and our true selves in favor of what's considered acceptable or desirable, and we do it willingly. We wear the mask of who we think we're supposed to be, and we become so good at it that, over time, we forget who we were underneath all of those layers. But here's the painful reality. No one ever told us that pretending, that bending ourselves to fit others' expectations would cost us something precious, and the cost is high. It's not just about feeling lonely or misunderstood, though those are real consequences. It's deeper. It's about losing the essence of who you are, about walking through life as a version of yourself that's been sculpted and molded by external forces, instead of by your own true nature. And that's the paradox. We often think that by being good, by being nice, we're making ourselves worthy of love, acceptance, and admiration. We believe that if we just meet everyone's expectations, we'll finally feel fulfilled. But the truth is, in trying so hard to make others happy, we end up living in a constant state of self-abandonment. We neglect ourselves, our true desires, our authentic selves, because we're too focused on fitting into the boxes others have created for us. But it's not just the people around us who create these expectations. It's also the internal voice that says, "You're not enough unless you're perfect." That voice is the driving force behind so many of our choices, so many of our actions. We become obsessed with being seen as perfect, successful, likable, and always good. We spend years, decades even, living for the approval of others, chasing a kind of validation that can never truly fill us up. Because the approval we seek isn't the real kind. It's a shallow, temporary validation that fades away the moment we don't meet the next set of expectations. Imagine for a moment reaching the end of your life and realizing you never truly lived. You only existed. You existed as a reflection of what others wanted, not as the real, unfiltered version of who you are. How many moments, how many chances did you miss because you were too busy trying to please someone else? Too preoccupied with living up to some arbitrary ideal? How many of your dreams, your passions, your desires got buried because you were more concerned with how others would perceive you? Here's the kicker. It's not just about you. It's about everyone around you too. When we live our lives for others, when we prioritize their needs, their approval, their expectations over our own, we do the same thing to them that we're doing to ourselves. We set the bar so high that no one, including ourselves, can ever reach it. We live in a world where everyone is pretending, where everyone is showing only their best selves. And in doing so, we create a society of facades. Think about your relationships. How many of them are built on the real, raw truth of who you are? How many are based on the version of yourself that you've carefully crafted to fit in, to be accepted, to be loved? When you stop pretending, when you finally pull down the walls, it's terrifying because it feels like you're exposed, vulnerable, and naked. But in that vulnerability is where real connection happens. In the rawness of who you truly are, there is a depth and richness that perfection can never provide. Now, imagine the alternative. What if you stopped pretending? What if, instead of worrying about whether you were liked or accepted, you focused on being true to yourself? What if you let go of the need to be perfect and simply allowed yourself to be who you are, flaws and all? What if you started to care less about how others see you and more about how you see yourself? It's not an easy shift. The world around us constantly reinforces the idea that our value is tied to our external success, to how well we play the game, to how much we fit in. But here's the harsh reality. None of it matters in the end. The success, the approval, the accolades, they will all fade away. The people who love you because of what you can do for them, or because you fit some mold they've created in their minds, they will eventually move on. But the person you are underneath all of that, that's the only thing that will matter when you're standing at the end of your life. And that's what makes the suffering in this life so universal. We all get caught up in the same trap, trying to meet everyone's expectations, trying to be seen in the right light, trying to be the good person. But in doing so, we forget that we are already enough as we are. We forget that life isn't about constantly doing for others or trying to live up to some ideal. It's about being. It's about showing up as the authentic, imperfect, beautiful, and messy version of yourself, flaws and all. So here's the hard truth. Suffering is a part of the human experience. No matter how hard we try to avoid it, no matter how much we pretend or how well we conform, life will bring us pain. But here's the secret hidden in that suffering. It's a reminder that our time is finite. We will not live forever. And in that impermanence lies the ultimate truth. You will never get back the time you've already lost. The moments you've spent trying to please others, the years you've spent living for someone else's approval, they are gone, and they will never return. The clock is ticking. Time is the one thing you can never get back, and once it's gone forever. So ask yourself, how do you want to spend the rest of the time you have? Will you continue to live for others, molding yourself into the shape they expect, chasing after an approval that will never fully satisfy you? Or will you choose to be authentic, to stop pretending, to embrace the truth of who you are, even if it's messy, even if it's imperfect? The time for pretending is over. The time for truly living is now. Don't wait until it's too late to realize that you've wasted your life on something that wasn't even yours to begin with. Don't wait until you're standing at the end of your life, looking back with regret, wishing you had been braver, wishing you had been yourself. The suffering you feel, the frustration, the ache of not being truly seen, it's all part of the human condition. But it doesn't have to define you. Instead of running from it, lean into it. Let it be the catalyst that pushes you toward a life of truth, of authenticity, of realness. The suffering is inevitable, but so is the possibility of transformation, and the choice is yours. Will you continue to live for others, or will you finally live for yourself? The clock is ticking. Time is slipping away. Make it count.